Okay, here's a mess. This is the Woodchuck. It's the way that I use it. It's going to be a one-handed video, so bear with me. 45s. I think it's these guys right here. These 45s are put on the main shaft, and they also mesh with the reversing gear. See how the reversing gear will go on there? So that gear and that gear will transfer the forward motion into reverse motion, and he just hooks all that up onto the drive. Now, what I do, you can see the numbers on there. That's my standard gear set, and I've got drive gears 1 through 9. I've got some non-advertised gears, but all of those gears with this set, if I use that drive gear 1, I'll get a 2-inch pitch. If I use a drive gear 5, I'll get a 4-inch pitch. So that's basically the way that I keep track of my pitches and everything, just by writing it right on the drive gear. Alright, so then once I've got my drive gear set up, I can just put that on there and that on there, which is, this is a drive gear number 5. And that drive gear number 5 is actually what I need for a 4-inch pitch, and that's what I'm going to be using. Normally you would put your crank handle on here, but instead of a crank handle I've got a drive motor, so we'll just attach that on there. I got a spacer on there instead of the thickness of the crank handle. I got a spacer on there to space it out so I can tighten it all down. But anyway, that whole thing will get put on there. Now for spinning this thing high RPMs, up to, I think the max I can get is about about 700, 800, and the slowest I can go is about 75. So by doing that, I use this drive motor here. So I've got all of that put on a 1725 motor. I've got a reversing switch right there, and then the pulleys that I've got set up on there, I can change with my pulleys up on the wall here. So I've got high, medium, and low speed, and they just attach right onto that point right there. So I just drive it with a external motor. And then there was a question about the override, but that issue's been fixed on the website. The other thing is, especially when I'm using my my duplicator, I get a lot of bar sag. It just sags a lot. So what I have here, you can see this like a kickstand. You see that in the back there? Now what that kickstand will do is it just transfers all the weight from that bottom rail up to the top rail right here. So that gives that rail twice the strength. Now the other thing that I've got is, if you look at this point right here, it's kind of floppy. I mean, these bars are floppy, and that's what the Woodchuck had as an inherent problem that the Legacy with the steel rails and then finally the aluminum rails took care of. But what I do, so I've got this little box right here, and that can sit right on top of that, and it spans from rail to rail. And then I just take a clamp from here to there, just one of those quick grit clamps, and then clamp this, down together, and it just locks everything in. So when that's all locked in, my main shaft, my work, and my rails are locked in, so we don't have to worry about a lot of that chatter and movement and bouncing and all that other stuff. The other thing I've done is, you can see on this side I've actually got another rail sticking out the end of it. See, now that's one of the things the Woodchuck can do that the regular Legacy mills can't. We can't get past the machine very easily. Well, this one, all I've got to do is just unscrew 8 bolts down at the bottom of this tailstock, And as soon as that's off of there, I've got a straight shot all the way to the other tailstock. So I can go 9 feet on this. And then, if you really want to get crazy, you see this hole in the wall? That hole in the wall right there is a number 2 Morse taper. I've actually put a number 2 Morse taper in there, and then I've got this hook down here, and what that hook does is it just binds my whole machine to the wall. And I've actually turned 14 feet on this machine. I turn half of it, I flip it over, and I do the other half. So those are kind of the modifications that I've done. And then the other modification is the radial lathe, but we won't go there. And that's what this board on the back here for. That's just to hang a pattern on to where my radial lathe can copy it. But and then also we've got, well, for my big stuff, I've got a hoist up here. But for everything else, you can see I've got my my 2x with all 9 drives. I got my 1/4 with all my 9 drives. The .50 with our 9 drives. And then I've got a big indexing gear in the back. Now the big indexing gear is not designed for the Woodchuck either. So what I did, see if I can reach this. Oh, everything's in the back. So what I did is I made this to where this piece right here will actually bolt right on there, and that gives me my 2 indexing pins. You can see how I can slide them up and down, etc. And that white block is my holdback. But I just took their regular pin holder and adapted it just to another plate, and now I can use it on the Woodchuck. Except it has been a long time since I've used it on the Woodchuck, because I use crank handle indexing. And with crank handle indexings, you don't need any holes. All you need is math. But anyway, that's the setup. All you woodchuckers out there, have a great day. And all you legacy people out there, have a red day. See ya.